Story by Galina Volkova, Moscow.
For my sins the Lord allowed demons to enter my son, and one of them was even shown to me in my dreams as he entered into him. My child had always been very complex, but at this point, his personality disintegrated completely. From the summer of 1994, he stopped going to church, became friends with elements of the criminal world, was full of hate towards me, could not say 2 words without using foul language, and began to smoke. His father engaged in bouts of heavy drinking. The child had no self-control, was easily provoked into terrible quarrels and fights with his father, received all E's in school, and was on the point of being expelled. With God's help, in the summer of 1996, the demonic fit ceased after special prayers were read 3 times in the Trinity St. Sergius Lavra, and he began going to church again, although very rarely. One day I bought in our church the 3rd book on the miracles of the royal martyrs and began reading it together with my son. At the same time, I hung a portrait of the Tsar, which I had also bought at the church, over his bed. After finishing reading I said to him, "Oleg, you have so many sins that the Lord is slow in forgiving them. Ask Tsar Nicholas II, he is here before you, to help you rid yourself of foul language." I had mentioned the foul language because my son had not even wanted to repent of it, saying that he liked the sound of those foul words. Oleg appealed to Tsar Nicholas and went to sleep. Several days later Oleg came home from school in great joy and said, "Mom, I was coming from school with my friend and I found a box with coins, and among them is a silver ruble with the image of Tsar Nicholas." Soon afterwards I asked Oleg whether he was still using foul language in his conversations, and I learned that he could not stand saying those words any longer and that he had also lost all desire to smoke. I saw that an abrupt and noticeable change had occurred in my son. He began listening to me, comes to church with me every Sunday, goes to confession, and as a result of prayers to Tsar Nicholas he is becoming unburdened of his heaviest sins.
Story of Marina Anatolievna, a medical worker.
That was 30 years ago. During this period, I was left without housing, without a job. It was unbearably hard for me. I don't remember what I was doing at the time, but I didn't sit idly by and yet everything remained unchanged. And then one day, in search of work, I found myself on the platform of the Savilovsky railway station. I bought a ticket for the train. A train was moving slowly and slowly to the platform. And suddenly an idea occurred to me. I would throw myself under the train, and all the problems would be solved. But how will my poor mother survive, and will she even survive the news of my death? And only in my thoughts, I remembered my mother. Immediately on my right shoulder I felt someone's hand and turned around. In front of me stood a soldier in an old uniform. It was so old, worn, there were invisible patches, but so clean, of unearthly purity. Big, clear, infinitely kind, all-forgiving eyes looked at me. In a stern voice, he said, "Life has been given to you by God, and God will take it away from you." I turned my head, the doors of the train opened right in front of me. I turned my head back, no one was there. Then of course I didn't know who it could have been. I didn't understand how this person knew about my decision. I didn't take that train, but I walked a few steps asking if anyone had seen a soldier. I was looking for him at the station. I waited on the platform for a long time, and when he will appear, I will ask him how he knows about my intention. It wasn't until a long time had passed that I realized I wouldn't see him. I also remember that he wore epaulets, faded, with traces on the places where the insignia were attached. But most of all I was shocked by the sadness in his eyes and his purity. Within 1 week, all my problems were solved as easily as they seemed insoluble before this meeting. The study, work, marriage, and the birth of a son gradually pushed back the sharpness of this meeting, but what I saw entered my life forever. After 20 years, I became seriously ill, cancer of the 3rd degree. I had an operation, 3 months of irradiation, and chemotherapy. My son was finishing 9th grade and my daughter was 8 years old. I was haunted by the thought that my girl, who needed me, would be alone. Early in the morning I went to the church, approached the icon of the Mother of God, and began to ask, the Queen of Heaven, the Most Holy Lady, not for my sake, but for the sake of my daughter, ask to grant me life, extend it. And it was as if thousands of thin silver arrows were raining down on me. I stood and cried, my soul was so calm and easy. Returning to Moscow, I once walked along the passage of the metro station where wall calendars depicting the Romanov dynasty were sold. I walked by, then came back and bought 2 calendars. When I got home, I immediately attached one to the wall. Suddenly, unexpectedly for myself, I saw the soldier who stood in front of me on the platform of the Savilovsky railway station 20 years ago. It was Tsar Nicholas II. My illness, thank God, was left behind. After 8 years of going to church, the Lord gave me a spiritual father. All this happened beyond any doubt through the prayers of the Tsar Father. I sometimes ask myself how many people he brought to the road of life to God. O holy royal martyrs, pray to God for us.